Can a contract turn into real love? The story you're about to watch is full of passion, secrets, and a baby that changed everything. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and get ready to fall in love. Because this story will steal your heart.
I never wanted family. Not really. But legacy? That I understood. My father built Whitmore Enterprises from the ground up, and now the board demands something only I can give: an heir, a name to continue the empire, a child to keep the bloodline untarnished. I don't have the time or patience for a wife, much less the chaos that comes with love. I don't believe in it. Not anymore. So I crafted a solution as cold and calculated as every billion-dollar merger I've ever made. A contract. One woman. One pregnancy. In exchange, enough money to change your life. Simple. Efficient. Forgettable. Until she walked into my office. Natalie Brooks. She was supposed to be just another name on a short list of discreet, beautiful candidates. But the moment she stepped through the door, something in me paused. Not stopped. Nothing ever stops in my world. But paused, like time took a breath just to watch her move. Chocolate brown waves framed her face, cascading down her shoulders in a mess of effortless beauty. Her skin was a warm golden hue that reminded me of California's sunsets. Eyes? They were amber, no, firelight. Burning, intelligent, alive. She wore no makeup, no jewelry, just confidence wrapped in a tailored navy blouse that clung in all the right places. She wasn't intimidated by me. That was new. I leaned back in my chair and studied her while she studied me right back, like I was the one being interviewed. I told her what I was offering. No sugarcoating. No apologies. Carry my child. 9 months. Full medical and emotional support. After the birth, you'll receive $10 million. No romantic entanglements. No expectations beyond the contract. She blinked once. Then again. Her full lips parted, but no words came out at first. $10 million. Her record said she was deep in medical debt from her mother's treatments. A gifted architect stuck doing assistant-level work for scraps. She was smart, desperate, proud. And yet, not once did she let her voice shake.
That's the most insane thing anyone has ever offered me. You want to buy a baby?
She finally said, her tone laced with disbelief and curiosity. No, I said, standing. I want to build a future without the complications of emotion. You be giving me a legacy. In return, you have complete financial freedom to pursue your career, your life, any way you want. Her eyes narrowed.
And what makes you think I'd agree to something so personal?
I stepped closer than I should have. The scent of her vanilla and citrus wrapped around me like a goddamn drug. Her breath hitched just slightly as I reached out and brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear, the back of my fingers grazing her cheek. Because, I said quietly, you know this is the moment your life changes. One way or another. She didn't move. She didn't speak. But I saw the flicker of heat in her eyes. The part of her that wanted to say yes. Not because of the money. Not entirely. Because of me. And that was dangerous. So I stepped back, let the air cool between us again, and handed her the contract. You have 72 hours. After that, the offer disappears. She took the envelope, fingers brushing mine for a split second. Electricity, raw and unwelcome. And just before she turned to leave, she looked over her shoulder.
Whatever this is, Mr. Whitmore, it won't be simple or forgettable.
She was right, and I was already screwed.
My hand hovered over the pen like it weighed 1,000 pounds. One signature, one decision, and nothing would ever be the same again. The apartment was quiet, the kind of quiet that creaks with the weight of your thoughts. My mother was asleep in the other room, the oxygen machine hissing softly like a countdown. I stared at the thick cream envelope on the table. Andrew Whitmore's offer. $10 million for 9 months of my life. For my body. For a child I'd carry but not raise. God. What kind of woman even considers something like this? But then again, what kind of woman can't when hospitals are calling with final notices and medical bills are stacked like a second mortgage? When your dreams, architecture school, your own firm, feel like something you buried in another life? I was already drowning. He'd thrown me a lifeline, even if it was wrapped in gold and barbed wire. I pressed the pen to paper. My heart pounded like a war drum in my chest. Natalie Elise Brooks. The name looked foreign in ink, like it belonged to someone else. Someone braver. Or more desperate. I exhaled and closed the folder, my fingers trembling as I ran them over the sharp, expensive edges of the contract. My body didn't feel like it belonged to me anymore. Not entirely. And it hadn't even touched his yet. But it would. God, it would. I thought about Andrew. The way he looked at me, not with affection, not with desire exactly. Something colder. More precise. Like I was a blueprint and he was already planning how to own every inch of me. His voice still echoed in my head.
You know this is the moment your life changes.
I didn't sleep that night. I tossed and turned, tangled in sheets too thin to hold the heat that had bloomed low in my belly when he touched my face. I hated that I remembered it. I hated that I'd wanted more. This wasn't a romance. It was a transaction. Strictly business. No emotions. No attachment. And yet my dreams betrayed me. I saw him in them, towering over me, lips grazing my throat, breath warm and wicked in my ear. I woke up sweating, thighs clenched, heart racing like I'd already broken the rules. The next morning, I stood in the mirror and tried to see the version of myself who could handle this. Who wouldn't fall apart under the weight of his eyes or the heat of his mouth. Who wouldn't fall in love. I wasn't that girl. Not yet. But I would have to become her. Because I'd just sold my future to the devil in a $1,000 suit. And something told me he wasn't planning to play fair.
She showed up at my penthouse on a Thursday night. Unannounced, just as I had instructed. No driver, no assistant. Just her, Natalie Brooks, in a black coat and heels that did unspeakable things to my focus. I opened the door myself. She stood there like sin personified, coat buttoned to her neck, lips glossed but bare of any smile, eyes sharp and unreadable. The same eyes that haunted my thoughts since she signed. I expected nerves, maybe hesitation. What I got was fire. She stepped inside without a word, brushing past me, her scent trailing behind like temptation. Citrus and something darker. Something that made it impossible to remember why I had rules in the first place. We hadn't touched since that first meeting. Not once. But tonight, that would change. My voice was low when I finally spoke. "You're sure?" She turned, slow, let her coat slip from her shoulders like it was nothing. Underneath, she wore black silk, thin straps, bare thighs, skin glowing against the dim lighting of my home.
I signed the contract, didn't I?
I crossed the space between us in 2 steps. My hand cupped her cheek, thumb grazed in the corner of her mouth. "This isn't a transaction anymore," I murmured, voice rough. This part is real." She didn't flinch. She tilted her chin, defiant.
"Then prove it."
That was all I needed. I kissed her like I'd been waiting years, instead of days. Deep, demanding. Her lips were soft, but she didn't shy away. She met me with equal heat, fingers in my hair, pulling me closer, daring me to break every rule I wrote into that fucking contract. I lifted her easily, her legs wrapping around my waist, a low gasp escaping her throat as her back met the cool marble of my kitchen counter. I wanted to savor her. I wanted to consume. But mostly, I wanted to forget for just one night. that this was supposed to be controlled, because nothing about Natalie was controllable. Not the way she moaned into my neck, or the way her hands explored with curiosity and hunger. Not the look in her eyes when our bodies moved like they'd done this 1,000 times in another life. And when it was over, when she lay tangled in my sheets, chest rising and falling, lips parted from breathlessness, she looked at me, really looked, and something inside me shifted. No, cracked. This was supposed to be physical, predictable, a means to an end. But with Natalie, the game had already changed.
We'd done it 3 more times. Each time the same routine, late at night behind locked doors with words barely spoken. No kisses after. No holding. Just duty. Heat without meaning. Andrew was precise, focused, detached, like it was a transaction. And I tried to match that energy. I really did. But every time he touched me, my body betrayed me. I remembered the first night. The way he kissed me like I wasn't just a means to an end. The way his hands gripped me like he couldn't help himself. I tried to forget. I told myself it was just biology. But God, biology had never felt so electric. 3 weeks later, the test stared back at me. 2 pink lines. My breath hitched, like my body was catching up to what my heart already knew. Pregnant. I pressed a trembling hand to my belly. Nothing had changed on the outside, but everything was shifting inside me. Not just physically, emotionally. I was growing his child. A man I barely knew, yet somehow couldn't stop thinking about. A man who looked at me like I was a business decision. Who touched me like he was chasing a goal. But who haunted my dreams with fingers that lingered and eyes that almost felt. Andrew hadn't called. No check-ins. No texts. And yet, every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was him. I hated that part the most. That night, I curled into my couch with a blanket pulled over my body and stared at the ceiling. My apartment was too quiet. Test was still on the bathroom sink, mocking me with its soft certainty. I whispered into the dark, "What the hell did I just do?" But deep down, I already knew. I'd signed a contract to carry his child. What I hadn't signed up for was the ache blooming behind my ribs every time I thought of his voice, his mouth, his hands, or the part of me that already felt his, even before the baby did. The morning sickness came like waves. My body ached. My emotions were like live wires sparking against bare skin. But the strangest thing of all, I started missing him. Andrew. Even when he was cold. Even when he kept his distance like we hadn't been naked, tangled, breathless just days ago. He hadn't touched me since. Not physically, not emotionally. But God, he was everywhere. In my thoughts. In my skin. In the flutter low in my stomach when I imagined his voice against my ear, commanding and gentle all at once. That night I dreamed of him. We were back in his penthouse. But this time he wasn't cold. This time, his hands explored with something close to tenderness. His lips traced every curve like they were learning a language. He whispered my name like it meant something more. I woke up flushed, aching, and angry at myself for wanting him that way. I made myself a promise in the mirror. You are not going to fall for him. You are not going to let this ruin you. But the moment I stepped into his office the next day, pregnancy test sealed in my bag, a secret burning behind my lips, I saw him at his desk, shirt sleeves rolled, jaw set tight in concentration, and all that resolve unraveled like silk. He looked up. His eyes met mine. And for a single second, just one, he looked at me like a man drowning. And I wasn't sure anymore who needed saving.
She showed up at the office hours after checking her mother into the hospital. No appointment, no warning, just Natalie, standing in the lobby with a loose bun, eyes rimmed with exhaustion, a faded hoodie tugged over her curves, and a stiffness in her spine that screamed she was barely holding it together. I hadn't seen her in 4 days. Not since she handed me that envelope, the one that said I was going to be a father. Not since I told myself to keep things clean. Simple. Business. And yet, the moment I saw her standing there, arms crossed over her stomach like a shield, I knew something was wrong.
I need to talk to you.
No warmth. No small talk. I told my assistant to clear my schedule. She stepped into my office like it cost her something, walked past the glass walls, ignoring every curious glance, every whisper. She sat down with the kind of grace women like her aren't supposed to have under pressure.
My mom collapsed. They've admitted her. It's bad, Andrew.
She said, eyes locked on mine. Something sharp twisted in my chest. Not guilt, not exactly, but something dangerously close. And the money? I asked carefully.
Covered. Thanks to the first installment. That's not why I'm here.
She swallowed hard.
I thought maybe you'd want to know.
Her voice broke on that last word, and that was it. I was across the room in 2 strides. I crouched in front of her like a man possessed, my hands brushing her knees. Not touching, almost, because I didn't trust myself. Her scent, faint citrus and panic, washed over me, and it was goddamn addictive. You didn't have to come all the way here, I murmured.
Yes, I did. Because no one else cares. And I don't know why I thought maybe you.
She snapped, tears threatening now. I do care, Natalie. Her breath caught, and I realized the truth of it as I said it. I did care. Too much. Come home, I whispered. Let me take care of you tonight. She blinked. I mean sex. For once, that was what I meant. But the heat between us, always there, flared. Her eyes flicked to my lips, and I saw the war inside her. So I did the unthinkable. I reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and she leaned into the touch like it was the first kindness she'd had in days. But before she could answer, her name floated down the corridor.
The girl with the contract. Pregnant and shameless.
Another voice joined in.
I heard she begged for the money. Just walked into his office and offered herself up like a damn surrogate.
The blood in my veins turned to lava. I stepped out of my office, my jaw locked, my posture lethal. 3 junior executives froze mid-laugh near the break room. I said, low and controlled, you find a different topic of conversation. Now. They stammered apologies and scattered like rats. When I turned back, Natalie was still seated, her back to me, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. She had heard everything. I wasn't supposed to care. I wasn't supposed to feel anything. But I wanted to storm back into that hallway and destroy anyone who dared to speak her name like that again. I wanted to take her home, wrap her in silken silence, and make her forget the world existed. And that was the moment I realized I wasn't just breaking the rules. I was breaking myself for her.
I wasn't supposed to be there. Not barefoot, not curled up on the plush leather of his penthouse sofa, not sipping peppermint tea from a handcrafted ceramic mug like I belonged there. But I was. And he had invited me. No contract. No agenda. Just me. Andrew had insisted I rest after the hospital. He didn't say it like a command, though. It was gentler. Like he was trying to learn a different language, one where power wasn't everything. So I came upstairs. I told myself it was just for the view. Just for the comfort. Just because I was tired and overwhelmed and sick of microwaved soup. But that was a lie. Came because of him. Because of the way his eyes had softened when I told him about my mom. Because of the anger in his voice when he defended me without hesitation. Because somewhere between all the walls he kept up, I had seen the outline of a man I didn't know how to resist. And I didn't want to. He sat across from me now, sleeves rolled, shirt unbuttoned just enough to make me think of things I shouldn't. He wasn't trying to seduce me. That was the problem. He was just being quiet, present, a little dangerous in his silence, a little vulnerable in his presence.
You don't owe me anything.
He said suddenly. I looked up.
Tonight, there's no obligation.
He added, his gaze steady. I swallowed. I know. And I did. But my heart was a traitor. And so was my body. The silence between us thickened, warm like velvet, hot like embers. My pulse danced against my ribs when I stood and walked toward him, slow and uncertain, until I was close enough to feel the heat of him. He didn't move. Not a single twitch. His self-control was godlike. But his eyes, they betrayed him. Dark and smoky with a question I wanted to answer. So I kissed him. Soft at first, hesitant like testing the edge of a flame. But when his hand reached up and curled around my waist, pulling me down onto his lap, the kiss turned into something wild. Something we'd both been starving for. Our mouths collided, breath tangled, hands exploring in frantic reverence. I felt him hard beneath me, ready, demanding, but we weren't rushed. This wasn't like the other times. This wasn't a transaction. His hands slipped under my sweater, palms dragging against bare skin, and I gasped as he kissed down my neck like a man discovering something precious for the first time.
Tell me to stop.
He whispered, voice raw. I didn't. Instead, I guided his mouth back to mine and let everything fall away. Contracts, fear, rules, logic. Only his touch remained. And my heart, beating faster than it ever had before, carried me. Not like I was a burden, but like I was something precious. Like breaking eye contact for even a second might shatter the spell we were under. The city glittered behind the massive glass windows of his penthouse, but all I could focus on was the man in front of me, the way his jaw clenched with restraint, the way his breath trembled when I touched his chest. He set me down on his bed, enormous, perfectly made, crisp white sheets that would never look the same again after tonight. I was nervous. Not because of the act, we'd been intimate before. But this was different. This was slow. This was him looking at me like I was the only thing that had ever made him feel alive. When he undressed me, it wasn't mechanical or rushed. His fingers traced every line of my skin as if he were memorizing it, as if he couldn't quite believe I was real. He kissed the curve of my shoulder. My collarbone. Lower. He lingered at my stomach, brushing his lips softly just below my navel. Right over where our baby was growing. I felt my chest tighten, unexpectedly, painfully. He looked up then, and I swear in that moment he wasn't Andrew, the ruthless CEO. He was a man who just realized something had shifted inside him. He didn't say a word. He just kissed me again, deeper this time, and guided me down onto the bed. When he finally entered me, it wasn't just about heat or pleasure. It was about connection. Every movement was deliberate, every breath shared. Our bodies fit together in a rhythm neither of us had planned but somehow knew. His name fell from my lips like a prayer. And when I cried out beneath him, trembling from the intensity, he held me so tight I could barely breathe, like letting go would cost him something he wasn't ready to lose. We stayed like that after, tangled in sheets and silence. No contracts, no roles, no rules. Just skin on skin, heartbeat to heartbeat. And for the first time since I signed that paper, I felt something dangerous blooming inside me. Hope.
I didn't sleep. Not because she kept me awake. She was curled beside me, breathing slow and even, the kind of sleep you only fall into when you feel safe. It was me. My mind wouldn't shut off. She shouldn't be here. Not in my bed. Not in my arms. Not making me feel like this. The contract had been simple, clinical, cold, a child, not a relationship. And yet there she was, half covered by the sheet I'd pulled over her after watching her body tremble against mine. And I was staring at her like a goddamn fool. Her hair was splayed across the pillow, lips slightly parted, hand resting over her belly, our child growing inside her. There was something about that image that punched straight through the steel I'd spent years forging around my heart. I reached out before I could stop myself, brushing my knuckles down the side of her face. She stirred a little, murmuring something in her sleep. My name, maybe, or just a sound. But it wrecked me. I got out of bed. I couldn't keep doing this. I couldn't let her get any closer. But the memory of her moaning under me, her nails digging into my back, her whispered,
"Don't stop, Andrew."
It clung to me like a drug. No woman had ever sounded like that. No woman had ever looked at me like she did in the dark, like she saw something worth wanting. I poured a drink. The city lights flickered beyond the glass. Cold, distant, easier. But all I could think about was the warmth in that bed. She wasn't just a woman anymore. She wasn't just a name on a contract. She was Natalie, brave, beautiful, smart enough to see through my walls, soft enough to still be kind, even when I didn't deserve it. And that scared the hell out of me. Because once someone like that gets under your skin, they don't leave. They stay and ruin every plan you thought you had. So I told myself I'd keep my distance. That this, whatever this was, ended tonight. And then I walked back into the bedroom, pulled the sheet back, and slid in beside her anyway. Because secrets are easy to keep from the world. Not so easy to keep from your own heart.
There are sounds that change you. A favorite song from childhood. Crack of thunder in the middle of the night. The whispered, "I love you," you never thought you'd hear again. But nothing could have prepared me for the sound I heard today. The heartbeat. Fast. Steady. Real. It echoed through the dimly lit ultrasound room like a secret the universe had just decided to share with me. And as the technician moved the wand gently over my stomach, pointing to the tiny flutter on the screen, I forgot how to breathe.
"That's your baby,"
she said softly, smiling. My baby. Our baby. I tried to speak, to say something, anything. But my throat tightened and all I could do was nod. And then the tears came, quiet, steady, unexpected. 'Cause up until now it had all felt like a contract. A strange, surreal arrangement I'd stepped into out of necessity. A deal struck in desperation. Andrew and I, circling each other like two people who didn't quite know what they were holding, or what it might cost to lose. But that sound made everything real. It made him real, or her. A tiny life I'd already started to fall in love with. And I wasn't ready for that. Especially not when Andrew was standing beside me, silent as stone. He didn't flinch. Didn't speak. His hands were in his pockets, his expression unreadable. That sharp suit. That composed face. God, sometimes I couldn't tell if he felt anything under all that armor. But for a second, just one fleeting second, I thought I saw something in his eyes. Something like awe, or fear, or wonder. He didn't reach for me. Didn't say a word on the way out. Just opened the door and let me walk through first like the gentleman he could pretend to be. But I could feel the weight between us growing. Later that night, when I stood in the shower, I pressed a hand to my belly and whispered, "I heard you, baby." And then I whispered something I didn't expect. "I want him to hear you too. For real. Not just the sound. Not just the science. I want him to feel you. I want him to want you. And I'm scared he never will. 'Cause this started as a transaction. But I'm not sure how to stop myself from hoping it could become something more."
She looked at me like I just struck her. And maybe in a way I didn't raise my voice. I didn't say anything cruel, but the coldness in my words, it did the job. It was calculated. I know how to weaponize distance, how to shut a door with silence, how to kill a spark before it becomes a fire I can't control. Natalie, I said, tone clipped, let's remember what this is. Her lips parted, 1,000 things behind her eyes. Hurt, shock, maybe even disbelief, as if she hadn't expected me to be the one to draw that line. Not after the way I touched her, not after the way I looked at her last night, like she was the only thing anchoring me to the world. God, what the hell was I thinking? She walked out without another word, and I let her, because that's what I do. I let people go before they have the chance to leave me first. Back in my office, I poured a glass of whiskey and stared out at the city, the same skyline that's always made me feel powerful, untouchable. But tonight, it didn't work. All I could see was the shape of her mouth when she gasped under me, the way her body arched like she didn't want space between us, the way she whispered Andrew like it meant more than just sex, more than just a contract. And I responded to it. I wanted more of her laugh, more of her moans, more of the way her hand instinctively went to her belly now, like she was already protecting something I helped create. I downed the whiskey and cursed under my breath. This was never supposed to happen. I never wanted feelings. I wanted control, a name on paper, an heir and an exit strategy. But Natalie, she's chaos disguised as calm. And when I saw her in that ultrasound room, tears on her cheeks, hand trembling over her stomach, something cracked inside me, something primal, something tender. So I ran, with cold words and distance and silence. But here I am now, staring at my door, wishing she'd walk through it again, wishing I could undo the way her face fell when I pushed her away, wishing I wasn't the kind of man who always chooses fear over feeling, and knowing damn well that if I don't figure out what the hell is happening to me, I might lose the one thing that's ever made me feel alive.
The invitation was unexpected. A sleek black envelope with the Whitmore Industries logo embossed in silver. Inside, an equally elegant card. You're invited to the annual winter gala. Formal attire required. I stared at it for hours before deciding to go. Part of me thought maybe, just maybe, this was a step forward. A sign that Andrew didn't want to keep me hidden. That we could, at the very least, exist in the same room without masks or shadows or distance. I wore a satin emerald dress that hugged the swell of my belly, subtle but unmistakable now. My hair curled down my back, makeup soft, my heart foolishly hopeful. The ballroom was already buzzing when I arrived. Chandeliers glittering, champagne flutes clinking, a string quartet playing something elegant and cold. I searched for him in the crowd, telling myself not to expect too much. But what I saw stopped me in my tracks. Andrew was standing near the bar. In a tailored black tuxedo, hand in his pocket, drink in the other, looking like the man I first met, untouchable and ruthless. And next to him was a woman. Tall, blonde, legs for days. Her hand on his forearm, laughing softly at something he said. I didn't need anyone to tell me who she was. Madeline Sterling. His ex-fiancée. The one from the tabloids. The one who looked like she'd been born for gala nights and billionaire weddings. And Andrew wasn't pulling away. He didn't even look uncomfortable. He looked familiar with her. Like muscle memory. My stomach twisted, and not from morning sickness. People were watching me. I could feel it, eyes darting between my slightly rounded belly and the man who was supposed to be the father. Whispers behind hands, polite smiles laced with judgment. I backed away before anyone could speak to me. Before he could see me standing there like an idiot in green satin and dreams. Maybe I should have known better. Maybe I did. Because of course she belonged in his world, the penthouses, the galas, the champagne. And me? I was a contract. Clause. A mistake dressed up in fantasy. My heels clicked too loudly on the marble as I walked toward the exit. My vision blurred, breath tight in my chest. I didn't even make it to the car before the first tear fell. Not because of him, but because I had finally let myself believe. And he just reminded me I was never meant to stay.
At first, I told myself I liked the quiet. No text messages. No knocks on my office door. No soft steps echoing in the hallways of my penthouse. I told myself it was easier this way. Cleaner. Natalie had made things complicated. Her eyes asked too many questions I didn't want to answer. Her presence stirred something raw in me, something I didn't know how to handle. But the silence, it crept under my skin like frostbite. Her absence wasn't just noticeable. It was loud. I found myself watching the elevator panel in my building, waiting for a floor to light up. I hovered over my phone, half expecting her name to flash across the screen. But it never did, because I'd broken something. Again, and unlike a contract, there were no clauses that could fix it. Then came the call. I was in a meeting when my phone vibrated. I almost ignored it, until I saw the name of her neighbor flash across the screen.
Mr. Whitmore, it's Natalie. She collapsed outside the apartment. They took her to St. Joseph's. She didn't look okay. I thought you should know.
I didn't ask questions. I was out of the building before my assistant could finish asking if I wanted to reschedule. My driver didn't speak when he saw my face. He just floored it. Hospitals have always smelled like regret. Sharp, sterile, suffocating. I found her in a private room, pale, hooked up to monitors. The soft, rhythmic beep of the fetal heart monitor filled the space like a whisper I didn't deserve to hear. The doctor explained she was dehydrated, stressed, overexerted. Alone, I sat in the chair next to her bed and watched her sleep, and I hated myself because this woman, this strong, stubborn, maddening woman, had carried every weight I gave her and still managed to smile through it. I'd walked away because I was scared, because I didn't want to admit how deep this thing between us had grown, because loving her meant opening a door I'd bolted shut years ago. But seeing her like this, something cracked in me. Not like glass, fragile and delicate. No, like ice. Sharp, violent, loud. And I knew the truth I hadn't let myself say until that moment. I didn't just miss her. I needed her. And for the first time in my life, I didn't want to win. I didn't want control. I didn't want distance. I wanted her, healthy, safe, smiling again, beside me. God help me, I think I wanted her heart, and I had no idea how to earn it back.
It's the beeping that wakes me. Steady, mechanical, comforting in a strange, sterile way. I blink slowly, my eyes adjusting to the soft lights of the hospital room. The air smells like antiseptic and something faintly floral, maybe the bouquet on the side table. My throat is dry. My body feels heavy. And then I see him. Andrew, sitting in a chair beside the bed, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. His tie is loose, his suit jacket draped carelessly over the armrest, and his usually perfect hair is a mess like he's run his hands through it 1,000 times. He looks broken. For a second, I think I'm dreaming, that he couldn't possibly be here. Not after the way he pushed me away. Not after that woman at the gala, the coldness in his eyes when I walked out. But he is. And when he lifts his head, I see it, the raw emotion he always hides behind a wall of control. His eyes are bloodshot and scared. Hey. My voice is hoarse, barely a whisper. He's out of his chair in an instant, reaching for a cup of water, holding it to my lips with trembling hands. I take a sip, and it's like the weight of everything that's happened crashes into the space between us. I pull back slightly, trying to find my voice. What are you doing here? He hesitates. Like the words don't come easy. Like they're stuck behind years of silence, pride, pain.
I got the call. And everything just stopped.
There's a long pause. His eyes drop to my stomach and he swallows hard.
I thought I might lose you.
The words don't come out smooth. They crack like glass under pressure. And for the first time, Andrew Whitmore, the man who built empires, who commanded boardrooms and shattered expectations, looks completely powerless. 'Cause of me. Why would you care? I whisper, the truth still aching in my chest. You've been cold for weeks. You made sure I knew exactly where I stood. He doesn't flinch. He takes the hit like he knows he deserves it.
I was afraid of feeling too much, of wanting more than what we agreed on. And when I saw you at that party, it wasn't about her, Natalie. It was about punishing myself for what I felt for you.
He admits, his voice low. I want to look away to shield myself from hope. 'Cause hope is dangerous. Creeps in like light through a crack in the wall until it blinds you. But there's something in his voice, in his eyes. For once, there's no mask. He reaches for my hand, hesitating, like he's afraid I'll pull away.
I don't know how to do this, but I know I don't want you to go through alone. Not anymore.
My eyes sting. I should guard my heart. I should tell him it's too late. But the truth is, hearing that, feeling his hand in mine warm and steady, it unravels something inside me. Maybe he's still figuring it out. Maybe we both are. But for the first time, I believe him. I believe that beneath the cold, calculated man, there's someone who's just as terrified as I am. And maybe, just maybe, he's not ready to run this time.
There's a pen in my hand. It's nothing special, a cheap black ballpoint with the hospital's name printed along the barrel. But for some reason, it feels heavier than it should, like it carries weight beyond ink and paper. The doctor is standing just in front of me, waiting, his clipboard balanced on his forearm.
We just need the name of the legal guardian for the birth certificate, if you're not ready to.
I am. The words cut through the silence like a blade. Steady, clear. I don't look at him when I say it. I'm looking at her. Natalie. She's lying in the hospital bed, hair slightly messy, cheeks still flushed from the lingering heat of whatever panic brought us here 2 nights ago. But her eyes, they're wide, watching me like she doesn't quite believe what she's hearing. I don't blame her. Hell, I barely believe myself. Because up until now, I've built my life on walls, boundaries, strategies. I never let anyone in unless they served a purpose. But nothing about this woman or this child feels strategic anymore. It feels real and terrifying and right. I sign the form. My signature is sharp, practice, but my heart is pounding in my chest like it's trying to break free. I've closed billion-dollar deals without flinching, but this is the moment that undoes me. I turn toward her, and I say it before I give myself the chance to retreat. I want my name on it, not just because I'm the father, Natalie, but because I'm not walking away from this, from you, from our child. There's a flicker in her eyes, disbelief, hope, fear. She doesn't say anything. So I keep going, because for once, I need her know-it-all. I spent too long thinking I had to be alone to stay in control. That love was weakness. That feeling something this big would ruin me. But you, I swallow hard, stepping closer. You ruined me in the best damn way. Still no words, but tears begin to pool in her eyes, and I see her lip tremble just barely. I sit down on the edge of the bed, careful not to touch her until she wants me to. My hand hovers over hers. I know I hurt you. I know I made you feel small, like you didn't matter. But you do. You matter more than anything. You and that heartbeat inside you, You're everything now. She finally speaks, voice soft, cracked open.
You're really ready for this?
I nod. I don't know how to be perfect. I'll screw up. A lot. But I'll be there. Every doctor visit. Every late-night craving. Every terrifying second of this journey. I take her hand. And when she lets me, when her fingers wrap around mine, I feel something shift deep inside my chest. Not fear, not hesitation, but certainty. My name on that paper is more than a legal line. It's a promise. And this time, I'm not going anywhere.
The hospital room is quiet, save for the occasional beep of the heart monitor and the soft hum of the city far below us. It's nearly midnight, and the world feels like it's holding its breath. Andrew is sitting in the armchair by the window, long legs stretched out, tie loose, shirt half unbuttoned like he's let go of something invisible, something heavy. He's watching me like he's afraid to blink, like I'll vanish if he does. I shift under the blankets, suddenly aware of how intimate this silence is. It's not uncomfortable. It's charged. Soft. Real. You should go home, I whisper. He leans forward, arms resting on his knees.
I'm not leaving you alone tonight.
I chew the inside of my cheek. You don't have to babysit me. I'm not a porcelain doll. His lips curve.
No, you're steel wrapped in velvet. But even steel bends when it's under too much pressure.
My heart skips. He always does that, cuts through my defenses without even trying. It should annoy me. But it doesn't. It disarms me. There's a pause. A beat. Then I say it, the thing I've been holding back like it might unravel me. I'm scared. He doesn't move. Doesn't flinch.
Of what?
I stare at the shadows dancing across the wall. Of doing this alone. Of falling for you when I know you still have one foot out the door. Silence. Then the rustle of fabric as he stands, crosses the room. He sits on the edge of my bed, careful, slow. His voice is low.
I need to tell you something.
I glance at him. He looks down at his hands like the words hurt to say.
My ex-fiancée, we weren't in love. Not really. It was an arrangement. A merger dressed up as a romance. She wanted my name. I wanted stability. But we both knew it would never be more than that.
I swallow, listening.
She left the night. I told her I didn't want to pretend anymore. No fight. No tears. Just gone. And I think that's when I decided love wasn't worth the mess. Wasn't real.
He looks up.
But then you showed up, all fire and softness, demanding nothing but giving everything. And I panicked. I tried to push you away because losing you would hurt. Still might.
The air between us tightens. Andrew, I breathe, my hand reaching out, brushing his knuckles. I'm not asking you to fix everything. I just need to know you're here. Really here. He lifts his eyes to mine, and for once there's no shield. Just him. Raw. Wrecked. Real. He leans in, slow like a question. And when our lips meet, it's not rushed. It's not reckless. It's honest. His mouth is warm, coaxing, reverent. Like he's learning me in pieces, with every soft pull, every teasing brush of his tongue. My hand slides up his chest, fingers curling into his shirt, anchoring him. This isn't about lust. It's about surrender. When we part, I rest my forehead against his. No more contracts. I whisper. He nods, thumb grazing my cheek.
No more pretending.
And in the hush of midnight, with nothing but moonlight and truth between us, something new begins. Something neither of us can walk away from anymore.
I was born to dominate a boardroom. I know how to control chaos, how to turn panic into profit, how to lie with a straight face and make it sound like gospel truth. But nothing Nothing prepared me for the moment my private life exploded across the polished floors of Whitmore Enterprises. The boardroom is cold, not just in temperature, in tone, in looks. Every eye is on me, except for the one pair I can feel drilling into my skull. Richard Vaughn, senior advisor to the board. Old school, vicious in a suit. The kind of man who'd bleed loyalty if you cut him, but only to the company, never to people. He tosses a folder across the sleek glass table. It lands in front of me like a bomb.
Care to explain this?
I open it. I don't need to. I already know what it is. A printed copy of the contract. The one I signed with Natalie months ago. The one that was supposed to stay buried in a drawer and forgotten by the world.
She wasn't just some woman. She was under contract, pregnant, with your child. And this reads like a business transaction.
He taps the paper like it's contaminated. Silence hangs heavy. Tense. Waiting. I keep my voice even. It was a business transaction. Richard raises a brow.
And now?
I don't answer. Not because I don't know, but because the answer is too personal to give to a room full of men who think power is measured in quarterly earnings. He leans back.
Andrew, this company has survived market crashes, scandals, takeovers. But if this gets out, if you're painted as the CEO who paid a woman to have his child and then got involved with her publicly, you won't just lose your board seat. You'll take Whitmore down with you.
That's when I feel it. A sharp, burning twist in my chest. Not fear, not shame, rage. Because he talked about Natalie like she's a liability. A problem to be handled. Not the woman who carried my child. Not the woman who's made me want things I never thought I deserved. I rise slowly. Straighten my suit. Lock eyes with the man who once mentored me. If your concern is a company, Richard, then let's be honest. What you're really afraid of is a world where a man chooses love over legacy. The room shifts. I can feel it. Energy pulling toward me again. I breathe in. Yes, there was a contract. But it stopped matching the second I saw her smile. The moment I felt our baby kick under her hand. The night she told me she was scared, and I didn't want to let go. I buttoned my jacket. If this board wants a CEO who hides behind lawyers and NDAs, then vote me out. But I won't apologize for choosing her, for choosing them. And with that, I walk out into the storm brewing outside. Not broken, not uncertain, just ready to fight for something real.
I found the folder on his desk before he could hide it. Contract. My name. His signature. Terms. Clauses. Conditions. Everything that once made me feel protected now felt like a noose around both our necks. The news had already started spreading. Some faceless blog posted a blind item that Whitmore's golden CEO had a secret. A scandal. Something involving a woman. A baby. Paper trail. I knew how this story would twist itself in the media. How I would be painted, the manipulative woman, the gold digger, the walking PR disaster. And I couldn't watch him lose everything for me. So I did the only thing I could. I tore the damn thing in half. The sound of it ripping, loud, violent, final, rattled something inside me. I didn't cry. I couldn't afford to. I packed quietly while the city burned outside our penthouse windows. I left the key on the counter. Left my phone on the bed. Left a part of myself in every room of that home he made feel safe. 'Cause love, real love, meant stepping away before you dragged the other person down with you. But as I walked through the lobby of Whitmore Tower, hoodie pulled over my head, barely able to breathe from the ache inside me, I felt him before I heard him.
Natalie.
I froze. Kind of freeze where your lungs forget how to work. Where your soul begs you to keep walking, but your heart says turn around. He was there. In a suit he probably hadn't changed out of since the board meeting. His tie loose. His eyes wrecked. He looked like a man unraveling, and he was looking at me like I was the thread he was afraid to lose. "You shouldn't be here," I whispered, not trusting my voice.
You shouldn't be leaving. You think disappearing is going to fix this? That me losing you somehow protects me?
He shot back, stepping closer. My lip trembled. "They'll destroy you, Andrew. Your name, your company, everything you've built."
None of it means a goddamn thing if you're not in my life.
Silence slammed into us. Thick, raw, undeniable.
I don't care about the board, the press, the fucking contract. I care about you and our child, and the way it feels when you say my name like I'm more than a last name on a building.
His hand reached for mine. Desperate, firm, warm.
I love you.
He breathed. And suddenly I wasn't the girl trying to run away. I was the woman who had never heard those words and actually believed them, until now. And when he kissed me, there in the middle of the marble floor under the unforgiving lights while half the damn company probably watched, I didn't run. I held on, and kissed him back like we were rewriting every clause of a contract that never deserved to define us. They say the walls have eyes in places like Whitmore Tower. I learned they also have mouths. The moment Andrew's lips left mine, everything changed. Collective inhale filled the lobby. Phones weren't just pulled out, they were snatched up like lifelines. Preens lit up like fireworks. We just handed the rumor mill a live grenade. But Andrew didn't flinch. He tucked me against him like I was something worth protecting. His hand slid to the small of my back, possessive and defiant. He looked at the people frozen around us and said, with that signature steel in his voice,
Anyone who has a problem with this can bring it to my office.
And then he walked me toward the elevator like he owned the building. 'Cause he did. And at that moment he owned me too. My heart, my fear, my trembling fingers in his. Stairs in the silence of the penthouse, I finally spoke. "You just detonated your own reputation." He loosened his tie, eyes never leaving mine.
I can build another reputation. I can't build another you.
Meanwhile, the internet exploded. One of the interns from marketing texted me a screenshot before I could even sit down, an anonymous tweet. "Whitmore CEO kisses mystery woman in lobby. And she's pregnant." A photo followed. Blurry, too bright, but undeniably us. Then came the headlines. Billionaire Andrew Whitmore in secret relationship. From boardroom to baby bump, who is the woman who broke the CEO? Scandal or love story? Andrew looked at the screen, jaw tight but not angry.
They're going to talk either way. Let them say what they want. But you're mine now. No more contracts. No more hiding.
I swallowed hard. My heart pounded. "And what if the board comes for you?" He smiled, dark, confident, maddeningly sexy.
Then let them come. They'll learn something very quickly.
I tilted my head, breath shallow. "What?" He leaned in, lips brushing my ear.
That I never lose what's mine. They said I'd lost my mind. The press had a field day with the kiss. That kiss. The one I gave Natalie right in the lobby of the Whitmore building. In full view of security cameras, employees, and half a dozen stunned executives. Scandal at the summit. Whitmore CEO seen kissing former escort. From escort to air maker. Billionaire's judgment questioned after public stunt. The headlines spread like wildfire. Stockholders demanded statements. A few council members called for an emergency vote. PR tried to spin it. Suggested she was a longtime companion. A private romantic interest. Not the woman they believed had been hired under contract. But I didn't flinch. I walked into the boardroom, stared every single one of them in the eye, and said, if your confidence in this company depends on who I love, you're free to walk. Some did. Most stayed. Because the truth is, Whitmore doesn't run on their gossip. It runs on me. And for the first time in years, I wasn't running from anything. I was running to her. The moment the call came in, Natalie's in labor. The entire world shrank. Earnings reports, scandal management, brand equity, none of it mattered. She was having our son, and I wasn't going to miss the first second of his life. By the time I reached the hospital, adrenaline was thunder in my veins. The air felt thin. I pushed past nurses, ignored security trying to stop me at the door. I knew where she was. When I saw her, everything stopped. She was breathtaking even in pain. Hair clinging to her temples, face flushed, eyes locked on mine like they'd been searching the whole room for only me.
You're late.
She breathed. I'm here now. She squeezed my hand so tight I felt my bones shift. I'd never been prouder to be broken. Then came the pushing, the screaming, the sound of her body fighting to bring a new life into the world. I've faced hostile takeovers with more composure than I had in that moment. And then, the cry. Our son's first sound shattered something ancient and cold inside me. He was handed to Natalie first. Her eyes softened, lips trembling. She cradled him with a kind of instinct that rewrote the definition of love.
You want to hold him?
My voice was hoarse. More than anything. He was perfect. Tiny fingers curled around mine. His breathing was uneven but alive. So very alive. I kissed his forehead, then looked down at the woman who gave him to me. Gave everything to me, and I knew this wasn't just about paternity. It wasn't about responsibility or duty. This was everything. I leaned closer, our son cradled in my arm, and whispered, "Marry me." Natalie's eyes widened, glistening.
Andrew.
I mean it. No contracts. No doubts. Just you. Me. Him. I want this. I want you. She laughed, breathless, beautiful.
Is this adrenaline talking?
I shook my head. No. This is a truth. My truth. You're not a scandal. You're not a mistake. You're the reason I feel again. She blinked through the tears.
Then yes. God, yes.
I kissed her like the world had stopped spinning. And maybe it had. Our son slept between us, the heir to an empire. But for the first time in my life, it wasn't about legacy. It was about love. And I had never been richer.
The first time I woke up in his bed, there was silence. Now I wake up to coos and tiny cries and the soft thump of Andrew pacing the nursery barefoot in a black t-shirt, whispering lullabies in that deep, rumbling voice that used to close million-dollar deals, and now just begs our son to please, for the love of God, go back to sleep. It's been 7 months. 7 months since I ripped up the contract, ran like hell, and still somehow ended up here. In his mansion. His arms. His life. No longer a transaction. No longer a secret. I roll onto my side, sheets tangled around my legs, and watch through the open door as Andrew gently rocks our son against his chest. He looks like something carved out of devotion, eyes tired, jaw shadowed with stubble, hair a mess. And still so impossibly handsome it hurts. Midnight snack? I murmur, my voice still heavy with sleep. He turns, gives me a slow grin.
Third course.
I sit up, the satin slip I threw on last night slipping off one shoulder. His eyes catch the movement, linger. I can take him, I offer. He shakes his head.
I've got him. You've been up 3 nights in a row.
I don't mind, I whisper, sliding out of bed and padding barefoot across the floor. The woods warm from the sun, the curtains barely cracked open. A soft breeze carries the scent of lavender from the garden. Home. Smells like home now. He lets me take the baby, careful not to wake him. Our son sighs against my chest, and just like that, my whole world narrows to the weight of him in my arms, and the way Andrew steps behind me, wraps his arms around my waist, and rests his chin on my shoulder like he belongs there. 'Cause he does. You know, I whisper. I used to wonder what your house would sound like. He presses a kiss to the curve of my neck.
Cold. Empty.
Exactly. I smile. Now listen. Downstairs, the house staff is laughing with my mom, who visited almost every week now, healthy, strong, and finally free from the hospital. Watching her hold her grandson with tears in her eyes made every moment of pain worth it. And there's a soft hum from the music system playing something jazzy and old. Outside, someone's trimming hedges, which probably drives Andrew nuts because the sound interrupts his morning quiet. But he doesn't complain. Not anymore. 'Cause the silence is gone. And in its place, life. This baby. This love. Us. He turns me gently, careful not to jostle the baby, and kisses me slow, the kind of kiss that says everything he doesn't need to. That I was never a mistake. That this is where we were always meant to end up. Later, we're curled on the couch in the sunroom. The baby's finally asleep in his bassinet, and I'm wrapped in Andrew's hoodie, sipping coffee, legs across his lap while he runs a hand up and down my thigh like he can't not touch me.
You know, I keep thinking about what I was before you.
I glance over. A control freak? He laughs.
A ghost.
I blink. He meets my eyes.
I didn't even know I was alive until you stormed into my office and said that's the most insane offer.
I smile, remembering that day. That wild, reckless girl who walked in with a contract and left with his soul. What are we now? I ask softer. He doesn't miss a beat.
We're a family.
We sit like that for a while. No need to talk. Just being. And then I realize something. A quiet truth that blooms in my chest like spring after the longest winter. This isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning. No more contracts. No more masks. Just the two of us, raw, flawed, deeply in love, building a life from the ashes of what we used to be. And right now, in this moment, I believe in forever. Because love this real doesn't come with terms. Comes with a promise. And ours is just getting started.
The house smells like roses. Not the pretentious kind florists overcharge for real roses. Wild, tangled, unbothered. The kind Natalie loves. They're everywhere tonight. Woven into the trellis outside, scattered on the white linen table, pressed between the pages of the journal she left open beside our bed. 1 year married. 2 years since the day she walked into my office and shattered the perfect, lonely structure of my life. And tonight, she's mine in every way. Not by contract. Not by circumstance. By choice. By love. She's barefoot on the grass, her long dress brushing her ankles as she spins our son in her arms. His giggles breaking the soft hum of string music playing in the background. Her hair's longer now, sun-kissed and messy, and her smile is more radiant than anything I've ever signed, built, or earned. I watch her like a man who still can't believe she said yes. And I remember how she walked down that aisle barefoot, defiant, how she laughed at the nervous tremor of my voice as I vowed to spend forever undoing the walls I built around my heart. How her lips shook when she promised to be mine. Not as a transaction, but as a partner, a lover, a friend. We made love that night until the candles burned out, and we haven't stopped since. The celebration fades into soft music and candlelight. Our son is asleep, the guests gone, and the house is ours again. Quiet, dim, charged. Natalie leans against the doorframe of our bedroom, barefoot, wearing the silk slip I gave her this morning, champagne-colored, barely clinging to her curves, thin straps sliding off one shoulder. Her hair tumbles down her back, her eyes dark with promise.
You've been staring at me all night.
She teases, her voice like velvet. I always do, I say, walking toward her. You just don't always catch me. She lifts her chin, a smile tugging at the corner of her mouth, but I can see the emotion shimmering beneath it. A whole year, one full year as husband and wife, and she still undoes me with a glance. I close the space between us and cup her face, brushing my thumb along her jaw. Happy anniversary, Mrs. Whitmore.
Take me to bed, Mr. Whitmore.
I don't answer. I lift her in my arms. The bed catches us both in a tangle of limbs and low gasps. I trail kisses down her body, neck, breasts, stomach, until she's arching into me, whispering my name. I know her rhythm, her breathing, the soft moan she tries to swallow, and the one she lets out when she can't hold back. She tastes like trust. She feels like home. When I finally sink into her, it's with a groan that sounds like relief, like worship. Her legs wrap around me. Her nails rake down my back, and I move slowly, deliberately, dragging this out because I want her to feel every second of it. She holds my face in her hands, keeping my eyes locked on hers. There's something about that, about being looked at while being loved. That undoes me. Natalie.
I love you.
The way she says it, the way her body responds to mine. She's soft beneath me, gasping my name like it's the only word she still knows. And when she breaks, when her back arches and her lips part in a moan that swallows the night, I lose myself completely, because this is what love feels like. Messy, sacred, mine. She stirs before me the next morning. I hear her in the bathroom, the soft creak of the door, the sound of the tap. I wait for her to climb back into bed, but she doesn't. Instead, I hear retching. A cold fist wraps around my stomach. I throw off the covers, heart pounding, only to find her sitting on the tile floor, pale and wide-eyed.
I thought it was the wine, but then I remembered. I haven't had wine. Not for a few weeks.
She says, voice trembling with something I can't name yet. My eyes drop to the test in her hand. Positive. One word. And it changes everything. Again. This time I fall to my knees. I touch her stomach like it's already real. Like I can already hear a second heartbeat. You're pregnant? I whisper. She nods, lips quivering but smiling.
With our baby. No contracts. No secrets. Just love.
My throat tightens. My vision blurs. And then I laugh. Because I'm a man who once feared this kind of mess. This kind of vulnerability. And now I want nothing else. I kiss her like I did the night we married. Like I will every night after. Because love, real love, doesn't come with terms. It just comes back. Again, and again, and again.